girlfriend cheated with her coworker and got pregnant. Then I found out my own brother had been hiding the affair while she manipulated him to convince me to take her back. Last month, everything shifted in a single night for me, a 34-year-old man, after 7 years with Lena, 32F. We weren't wed, but we'd shared a home we purchased 3 years prior. I work in IT security for a healthcare firm, and we'd been racing to complete a massive system overhaul, putting in weeks of overtime. I finished my part 2 days early, and as I headed to my car in the nearly deserted parking garage, the relief hit me hard. I decided to surprise Lena by showing up at her dental practice when her shift ended. She usually stays late on Thursdays, and I figured we could try that new restaurant everyone's raving about. The drive to her office took about 30 minutes in evening traffic. Lena's practice is in one of those sleek medical complexes with big windows and a wide parking lot. When I pulled in, most lights were off, the lot nearly empty except for Lena's silver Accord and a black BMW I didn't recognize. Later I learned it belonged to one of the doctors. I parked a few spaces away and called her phone, thinking I'd ask if she was ready to leave. Her ringtone echoed from her car, that goofy song from that movie she loves. I walked over, expecting to see her gathering her things inside. Instead, I saw Lena in the passenger seat with a guy. They weren't just talking, his hand was up her shirt, and they were kissing like teenagers. My stomach dropped to my feet. I stood there for a good 10 seconds before she noticed me. Her eyes went wide, and she practically shoved the guy away. The guy turned, and I recognized him instantly, Dr. Patel, the orthodontist who joined her practice last year. I'd met him at their office Christmas party. He'd brought his very pregnant wife, and we'd spent 20 minutes talking about his plans for a nursery. He'd shown me pictures of the crib he'd built, and the mural his sister painted on the wall. Lena scrambled out of the car, fixing her clothes. Her blouse was buttoned wrong, lipstick smeared across her mouth. Dr. Patel just sat there, looking like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't wait for explanations. I turned, got in my car, and drove off while Lena chased after me, yelling my name. In my rearview mirror, I saw her standing in the parking lot, arms waving frantically as I turned onto the main road. I drove without a destination in mind. The digital clock on my dashboard read 7:42 when I left the lot. When I finally stopped, it was nearly midnight, and I'd put almost 150 miles on my car. I ended up at a 24-hour diner 50 miles outside Portland. I ordered coffee and sat in a booth until sunrise, watching truckers come and go. My phone had over 40 missed calls and dozens of texts from Lena. I turned it off and shoved it in my glove compartment. When I finally went home the next day, Lena was waiting. She sat on the front steps of our house, still in yesterday's clothes, eyes puffy, mascara smeared down her cheeks. She jumped up when I pulled into the driveway and tried to hug me, but I stepped back. She claimed it was just a mistake and only happened a few times, as if that made it better. I walked past her into the house and started packing some clothes while she followed me around, begging me to talk it out. "Please, just listen to me," she kept saying, standing in the bedroom doorway as I stuffed clothes into a duffel bag. "It didn't mean anything. It was stupid. I was stupid." I grabbed my toiletries from the bathroom, my laptop from the office, and a few other essentials. Lena blocked the front door, asking where I was going, when I'd be back, if we could just talk about this like adults. I walked out the side door instead. I crashed at my friend Sam's place for a week. I told him I needed space from Lena but didn't explain why. He didn't press, just cleared off his couch and handed me a spare key. I went to work, came back to his apartment, and stared at the ceiling until morning. Lena kept showing up at my office, leaving voicemails, sending emails. My coworkers started giving me weird looks. My boss pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. I told him Lena and I were having problems and left it at that. After a week, my older brother Nick called. Nick's 3 years older than me and works as a physical therapist in the same city. We've always been close, even though he can be a judgmental prick sometimes. He said Lena had contacted him, told him everything, and asked him to convince me to come home. Nick suggested I stay at our parents' house for a while. They were on a 3-week cruise celebrating their 40th anniversary, so it'd be empty. I agreed. Sam's couch was killing my back, and I needed somewhere to think. When I got to my parents' house in Boise, Nick was waiting with a 6-pack of the craft beer he knows I like. We sat on the porch without talking much, watching the sunset fade into darkness. After my second beer, he asked if I was planning to work things out with Lena. I told him I was done, 7 years gone, just like that. Nick nodded and said he understood, but then suggested I should at least hear Lena out. People make mistakes, he said. Relationships take work. Everyone deserves a second chance sometimes. His response surprised me. Nick had always been the hard ass of the family. When his college girlfriend cheated, he cut her off completely, changed his number, blocked her on social media, even switched classes to avoid her. He always said cheating was the one thing he could never forgive. Now he was telling me to consider forgiving Lena. It didn't make sense. I finished my beer and stood up. I need to get some sleep, I said, cutting him off mid-sentence about how relationships take work. Nick watched me walk to the door, then called after me. Just think about what I said. Don't throw away 7 years without at least talking to her. I closed the door without responding. The next day, I called a lawyer to discuss selling the house. Lena and I weren't married, but we need to figure out who got what. The lawyer suggested mediation instead of litigation if possible. I agreed to think about it. Nick came over again that evening with takeout from my favorite Vietnamese place. He kept bringing up Lena, saying she was truly sorry and devastated. He mentioned how long we'd been together, how much history we had. He pointed out that I'd once forgiven him for wrecking my car in college, and wasn't this just another mistake that could be moved past? I asked him straight up why he was pushing this so hard. He shrugged and mumbled something about second chances. I dropped it, but his behavior kept nagging at me. A few days later, Nick stopped by to drop off some groceries and stayed to watch a basketball game. When he headed out to grab us some takeout, he left his laptop on the coffee table. My own laptop was acting up, and I had an urgent work email to send, so I asked if I could borrow his. Sure, whatever you need, he said, tossing me the password before leaving. I opened his browser to access my email account when a notification popped up, a text from Lena. I shouldn't have looked, but I clicked on it. What I found made my blood boil. Nick and Lena had been texting for weeks, not just since I found out about the affair, but before. 6 weeks ago, one of Nick's friends had seen Lena and Dr. Patel at a hotel bar on the other side of town. The friend took a picture and sent it to Nick. In the photo, Lena was sitting practically in Patel's lap, his arm around her waist, her hand on his thigh. They were clearly not discussing dental practices. Instead of showing me the picture or telling me what was going on, Nick had confronted Lena directly. She admitted to sleeping with Patel but swore to Nick it was just physical and didn't mean anything. She promised to end it, and begged him not to tell me, and he agreed. For 6 weeks, my own brother knew my girlfriend was cheating and said nothing. He watched me plan a weekend getaway with Lena. He helped me pick out an expensive necklace for her birthday. He sat across from us at Sunday dinners, watching us hold hands and talk about our future, all while knowing she was screwing around behind my back. But it got worse. After I caught Lena and moved out, she and Nick kept texting. She was manipulating him, using his guilt to get him to convince me to take her back, and it was working. There were dozens of messages where Nick assured her he was working on me and wearing me down, telling her what to say, how to act, when to back off, and when to push. I scrolled through more messages and found another bombshell. Lena claimed she might be pregnant. She wasn't sure who the father was, me or Patel. She was using this to pressure Nick, saying I needed to come home now more than ever. A baby changes everything, she wrote. He wouldn't abandon his own child. I was shaking by the time I finished reading. I closed the laptop and left the house. I drove around for hours, trying to process everything. My girlfriend of 7 years had cheated, my brother had hidden it from me, and now there might be a baby involved. When I returned, Nick was in the kitchen making dinner. I put his laptop on the table and asked if there was something he wanted to tell me. His face went pale. He started stammering excuses. He thought Lena would end it. He didn't want to hurt me. He was trying to protect our family. I couldn't hold back. I called him every name in the book. I asked if he enjoyed watching me get played for a fool. I asked if he'd ever actually had my back or if he'd always been this spineless. Nick tried to defend himself, saying he genuinely thought Lena would break things off. He said he'd been agonizing over whether to tell me. "You had 6 weeks to say something," I shouted. 6 weeks? You sat at Mom's birthday dinner and watched me propose a toast to Lena. You knew the whole time. We were still arguing when the doorbell rang. It was Lena. Nick had invited her over without telling me. She walked in with puffy eyes, carrying a shopping bag from the pharmacy down the street. Without saying hello, she pulled out a pregnancy test and placed it on the coffee table. "Positive. It's ours," she said, as if that fixed everything. I laughed in her face. "How do you know it's not Patel's?" I asked. Lena flinched like I'd slapped her. She admitted they hadn't always used protection, but insisted the timing meant the baby was most likely mine. She'd broken things off with him completely, she claimed. She even showed me her phone with texts proving it. I told her I didn't care. Even if the baby was mine, I wasn't getting back together with her. I'd take a paternity test when the time came and support the child if it was mine, but our relationship was over. The house would be sold, the assets divided, 7 years erased by her choices. Lena started crying. Nick stepped in, telling me I was being cruel. He suggested I was acting out of anger and would regret throwing away our relationship, especially with the baby involved. The way he spoke, like I was the one who'd done something wrong, pushed me over the edge. I showed Lena the texts between her and Nick. I told her I knew they'd been conspiring behind my back. I told Nick that our relationship as brothers was just as damaged as my relationship with Lena. I told them both to get out. They left, but the drama wasn't over. Nick told our parents everything when they returned from their cruise. He painted himself as the peacemaker, just trying to help. When my parents got back to Boise, they found me still staying in their guest room. My mom cornered me in the kitchen my first morning back, saying I should give Lena another chance for the baby's sake. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said, "and throwing away a 7-year relationship is rash." I couldn't believe it. My own mother was taking Lena's side before hearing my version. When I pressed her, she admitted Nick had been talking to her daily throughout their cruise, telling her how sorry Lena was and how the pregnancy changed everything. He'd conveniently left out the part where he knew about the affair for weeks before I discovered it. I decided to end this once and for all. I invited everyone over, my parents, Nick, Lena, and even Lena's parents. They probably thought I was going to announce a reconciliation. My mom even brought a bottle of champagne. Instead, I laid out everything. I showed them the texts between Nick and Lena from before and after I discovered the affair. I explained how Nick had known for weeks and said nothing. I showed them the picture Nick's friend had sent him, Lena practically in Patel's lap at that hotel bar. I included the messages where Lena admitted the affair had been going on for months, not just a one-time mistake as she'd initially claimed to Nick. Lena's father, who had always treated me like a son, looked at her with such disappointment it was almost painful to watch. My dad went silent, the vein in his forehead pulsing the way it does when he's truly angry. My mom tried to defend her position at first, saying she just wanted what was best for the baby, but even she couldn't justify the deception when confronted with the evidence. Nick tried to paint himself as caught in the middle, just trying to do what was right for everyone. Lena's mother called him out on that. "If you really cared about doing what was right," she told him, "you would have told your brother the truth from the beginning." The meeting ended with Lena in tears, Nick sulking, and everyone else processing what they'd learned. Lena's parents apologized to me before they left. My dad pulled me aside and said he was proud of how I was handling things. My mom hugged me and apologized for not supporting me from the start. In the weeks that followed, I hired a lawyer and started the process of selling our house. Lena moved back with her parents temporarily. Nick tried to make amends, bringing over dinner, offering to help with the house sale, suggesting we watch the game together like old times. I kept my distance. I told him I needed time. I contacted Patel's wife through social media and told her everything. She deserved to know the truth just as much as I did. I sent her the picture Nick's friend had taken and offered to speak with her if she wanted more details. She thanked me, though I suspect her world was crashing down just as mine had. I started looking for a new apartment, something closer to the office with no memories attached. Update: it's been months since my last post. A lot has happened, so I wanted to share an update. First, the paternity test results came back. I am not the father of Lena's baby, Patel is. The test was done as soon as it was safe for the pregnancy, around 12 weeks. When Lena found out, she tried to convince me that we could still make things work, that she still loved me despite everything. I declined. The house sold quickly, and we split the proceeds as agreed in the original purchase contract. I paid off my car and put the rest in savings. I've moved into a new apartment closer to work. It's smaller but feels more like home than the house ever did in those last months. I bought all new furniture, donated most of my old clothes, and started fresh. Patel's wife divorced him and took him to the cleaners. She had apparently already suspected something was up but lacked proof. My information gave her the leverage she needed in the divorce proceedings. She reached out to thank me again for telling her the truth. She's doing well, all things considered, and their baby is healthy. Lena and Patel are not together. She tried to make it work with him after I made it clear we were done, but apparently he wasn't interested in a relationship. He is, however, legally obligated to pay child support. Lena's parents are helping her raise the baby, who was born just last month. Lena still texts me occasionally. At first, she'd send long paragraphs about how much she missed me, how she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, how she thought about me every day. I never responded. Now she mostly sends updates about her life that I never asked for. I've considered blocking her number, but at this point, her messages don't affect me anymore. As for Nick, our relationship remains strained. He's apologized multiple times, but trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. Nick stopped texting me about Lena after our confrontation. When we run into each other at family events, he keeps conversation to sports and work. He no longer brings up second chances or asks if I've heard from Lena. My mom, on the other hand, sends care packages to my new place every couple of weeks and calls regularly just to check in. Last week, she helped me pick out furniture for my apartment without once suggesting I should have kept the old stuff from the house. My dad has been solid throughout this whole mess. He calls once a week just to talk, no advice, no pressure, just checking in. He started inviting me on his fishing trips, something we haven't done together since I was in college. Last month, we spent a weekend at the lake near Boise where he taught me to fish as a kid. We talked about everything and nothing. He never once mentioned Lena or Nick unless I brought them up first. Looking back at everything that happened, I still don't regret my decision to end things with Lena. The pain and anger have faded over time, replaced by a strange kind of gratitude. I'm grateful I found out the truth before we got married or had kids together. So that's where things stand. Life goes on. Work is good. My new apartment is finally feeling like home. Update 2. It's been a year since everything happened, and I thought you all might appreciate another update. Lena's baby is now 6 months old. Patel is paying child support but has minimal involvement in the child's life. According to mutual friends, he sees the baby once a month for a few hours. Lena occasionally sends me pictures of the baby, which I find strange given our history. I changed my number last month, so hopefully that's the end of that. The biggest news is about Nick. 3 months ago, he came over to my apartment unannounced. He was clearly nervous, fidgeting and avoiding eye contact. After some awkward small talk, he confessed something I never saw coming. He had been sleeping with Lena, not recently, but years ago, before she and I moved in together. According to Nick, It was just a one-night stand after a party while I was away on a business trip. They both agreed it was a mistake and decided never to tell me. Nick claimed this was the real reason he didn't tell me about Lena and Patel. He felt like a hypocrite calling out Lena for cheating when he had done something similar years before. I didn't yell or throw things like I might have months ago. I just sat there, letting this new betrayal wash over me. When Nick finished his confession, I asked him to leave. He tried to argue, saying we needed to talk this through, but I opened the door and waited until he walked out. I haven't spoken to him since, despite numerous attempts on his part to contact me. Our parents are aware something happened between us but don't know the details. Nick apparently hasn't had the courage to tell them what he did. At Thanksgiving, my mom seated us at opposite ends of the table. Nick tried to catch my eye throughout dinner, but I focused on my cousins and their kids instead. After dessert, he cornered me in the hallway, asking if we could talk. I told him there was nothing to say. He argued that it was just one mistake from years ago, that he'd been carrying the guilt all this time, that he deserved forgiveness. I walked away. My dad called the next day. He didn't press for details, just said that whatever happened between brothers should stay between brothers. He invited me fishing again, just the two of us. Out on the lake near Boise with no one else around, I told him everything about Nick and Lena years ago. My dad listened without interrupting. When I finished, he cast his line into the water and was quiet for a long time. "Family is complicated," he finally said. "You don't have to forgive him today or tomorrow, maybe not ever. But don't let his mistakes poison your life going forward." I've been thinking about that a lot lately.